This is Cyber Therapy. I am Ashley, and I'm Senior Marketing Manager at JupiterOne. This is my lovely co-host, Tyler. You want to say hi?
Hi, Ash. How are you today? Do you have a wonderful Lunar New Year?
So far, yeah, it's been actually quite chill.
Yeah?
Just getting monies for the red envelopes for the kids, and it's a pretty relaxing day, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
that's super cool. Apparently you need crisp bills, right? Which I knew
crisp
nothing about because
$2 bills would be
oh,
awesome.
that
Like as a
explains a
kid,
lot. Yeah.
I was $2 bills were in high demand, and it was like the thing to have. So I
I
still have
really
one in my
need
wallet
to
as like a lucky thing.
I really need to adopt that habit. I think that's just such a cool little thing for the year of the tiger this year, right? So
Yep.
I'm pretty excited for the year of the tiger. 2022 is shaping up to be a phenomenal year for a lot of people, a lot of businesses, a lot of things on the up and up. Certainly for JupiterOne, we're pretty excited about some of the projects we have going. Um, yeah, have you been skiing lately, Ash? Have you been?
No, I was actually going to ask you because we're finally in February, which means we're full-time winter for sure. But we haven't gotten a lot of snow. Honestly, it's been kind of a weirdly
And
dry snow season so far.
what were you going to ask me if you could go?
Well,
You're
I
like you're going to
mean,
ask you. What are you
there's
going to ask me?
well, I thought you wanted to go take your kids out to go
I
skiing.
I do, but I'm struggling to find the time to get out to the wonderful. So for those of you that are watching the show that don't know this, Ashley is located in Denver,
Yes.
Colorado,
Mhm.
and she has phenomenal skiing. Where I am in Raleigh, North Carolina, not necessarily the hotbed of deep powder. So I was hoping to get my kids out there, but I don't know if it's going to happen this year. We'll see. We got a lot going on. Um,
It's all good.
so give us 2 seconds on what we got going on today for the show.
Yeah, I'm super excited because we get to chat about the collaboration with NC State. And so, without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and bring our guests on so they can introduce themselves.
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Nick. Margaret, you want
There,
to give
I know.
a welcome, a little background on yourself?
Sure, I'm Margaret Heil. I am the director of the Senior Design Center in Computer Science at NC State. I've been there since 1996 in various roles, and the center is we house our capstone senior course for our undergraduate seniors who are about ready to be launched to graduate into the next chapter of their lives. And we teach this course as from a multidisciplinary perspective. So my area of expertise is communication, teamwork, and project management, and I co-teach this with computer science faculty. And we have industrial mentors who bring problems to our students, and more about that later. I'll be happy to talk about it. And thank you for having us here, having me.
Awesome. Thank you,
Nick.
Margaret. Nick Dowmon. Would you
Hey,
like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. Great to see you all. My name is Nick, and I'm a senior software engineer at JupiterOne. Work on the integrations team, which means a lot of what I do is part of JupiterOne's goal of writing open source integrations. So me and my team work a lot on that, including our cloud provider integrations, users and access integrations, things like that. And we're trying to basically push additional open source initiatives, and we had a really great collaboration with NC State recently, which is how I know Margaret.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here with Nick talking about this experience. So, and thank you for bringing JupiterOne to us.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the Senior Design Center. What is it? How is it formed? What's the vision behind it? And so I know you gave us a little bit of background on that, but
Yeah.
would love to just know more
Yeah,
since you've seen it grow.
Always happy to talk about the center. The center was formed back in the 90s, actually, by our department head at the time. His name was Dr. Alan Tharp. And he had been involved in the department in the 60s when was just starting up. And he really wanted to take advantage of the richness of our industrial neighborhood, right? So the research target park, wow, it would be great if we could nurture some kind of partnership between our department and our neighbors. And many of the students that had graduated that were alum that Alan knew were out there. So he knew that he could contact them. So he went to one of his coworkers, Dr. Robert Finaro and said, Bob, what do you think we could do? We need to come up with some kind of partnership here because this is a great opportunity for us. So they started knocking on doors and going to students, former students, and saying, hey, what can we do? And they came up with this paradigm where industrial partners would actually give teams of students in this elective project course a problem, and then expect those students to solve that problem by creating software in a semester. And so Bob set that up, and he became the technical advisor for a handful of teams, and that was around 1994. And you can imagine what kind of process that was, right? So the students were expected to write requirement specs and design documents and test plans, and they had to communicate with their industrial mentor on a weekly basis. They had to work together as a team. And then Dr. Finaro started expecting them to do presentations for the sponsors and putting together all this formal documentation. So Alan and Bob thought, eventually it just became a little bit too much for one instructor to handle because it was a very popular experience for the students. So the students, it was an elective course and the students were signing up for it because what a great way to network. Mm-hmm. Hey, I haven't had the internship experience. I haven't co-op. Right. So let's sign up for this project course that's industrially mentored. So they decided to bring me on as an experiment, as a consultant, because my area of expertise was this communication piece. So Bob and I started teaching this from a multidisciplinary perspective, and it just took off. And the sponsors, of course, loved it because the students that they were recruiting from this experience had this, it was such a robust experience. They came, they understood about writing and speaking, and plus they were able to develop the software. So it just kept growing and growing. And then of course our students loved it because of the recruitment and networking with folks. So it took off, and eventually it became a required course for all of our undergraduate seniors. So we started with a handful of teams, 3 to 5 teams. We have 39 teams this semester. 39.
Wow.
39. So
how many people on a team, Margaret? I'm trying to get a grasp of the scope of the size of like an annual cohort that comes through.
Yeah, so right now this is unprecedented. So we have 195 students, and we have anywhere from 4 to 6 students on a team. So we have 1 4-person team, 1 6-person team, and most of them are 5-person teams. So we're working with that. We're growing. We have some growing pains, but we're really excited to see how it unfolds. So I have this incredible team, and Nick has had the honor of working with just some incredible folks over the years, and this semester, just great people, computer science faculty, and we have 5 sections. So, and I'm in every section. So I teach in every section. So my hope is that I can get in the trenches with the students. Like that's what I really love to do. But now I'm doing a lot of administration, but that's okay, right? But I'm really about ready to launch into a project management activity that I call task planning, and I am going to be doing it with 39 teams. It's a 1-hour project management activity that I do. Yeah. So I'm really excited now. Usually, and I'm really excited when the 39th one finishes.
I'm sure you are. So I went to school a long time ago in undergrad, and we had requirements for internships. Can you help me understand the difference a little bit between what an internship would be and what this type of project, the senior design project that you guys run? How does it, what's the difference? Is it a time specific difference where an internship might be longer? How does that work?
Well, the internships can be, the students can do the internships in a semester. They can do them in the summer. Sometimes the summer moves into the fall, and maybe they have fewer hours per week, depending on what their course schedule is. But really, I think that probably the main difference in senior design, the students participate in all phases of the software development lifecycle. So by prescription, they have to follow, and they have to, right? Yeah. So they have this problem, and they bring it all the way to delivery. So they do requirements, they do design, they do implementation testing.
Where an internship could potentially be bug squashing for a semester.
Exactly. Internship can be a really a piece of that life cycle, which is great experience, right? But here they definitely, we have to check off those boxes, right? Yeah. In addition to that, they do work on a team in design, but they're not just thrown on a team. They're actually taught how to do teamwork, and they're monitored, and they're coached, and mentors. And I think that that's a difference. I don't know that all internship opportunities have the time for that, that the managers actually have the time to do that. And of course, they have a very robust experience with formal speaking and writing, and they get an enormous amount.
Formal speaking, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. I really wish I would have had something like this when I did my undergrad. I mean, we came through, we crunched out the code, we banged it out, and you got the job done. And, you did your internship and maybe you squashed bugs for a semester. Or, I mean, I did mine setting up networks for a virtual reality company in 1995, right? So, all the different, it's a wonderful career I've had, but all the different experiences that I had just don't seem to give the well-rounded kind of vantage point to what you're describing, where it was more for me, it was like code, bang, bang, bang. You're an engineer. That's what you do. Focus on engineering. And that's it. Right. So it's really neat to see the breadth.
That's why our sponsors love us. Yeah. I had a recruiter once, if you don't mind me telling a story.
No, go ahead.
I had a recruiter once call me and say, "What the heck are you doing over there? We just want your students. We want your students." And this person said, "I'm not allowed to tell you what universities you are competing with, but we don't really care. We just want NC State graduates. So what are you doing over there?" Because our companies are just loving the students that you're graduating.
Yeah, it's making them so much more well-rounded and more than just a code cruncher like Nick is, right? I mean, all he knows how to do is crunch code, right, Nick?
If only I went through this program.
Oh, you should see how he mentors the students. He's wonderful with the students.
So for the audience, Nick works at JupiterOne. I have the pleasure of having worked with Nick now for about a year and a half. The guy's a true pleasure. He's fantastic, very, very bright. And just give us a little bit of your background. Where'd you go to school? Did you do an internship or a design program or anything like that, Nick? I mean, you went to one hell of a school. So give the audience a little bit of background.
Sure. Yeah. Well. So for my undergrad, I went to Northeastern University, which is Boston. And for those of you who don't know, I know a lot of schools have offered these co-op programs. But at Northeastern, that was basically a requirement. Like every single person I knew did graduated in 5 years, so you get to stay in college a little bit longer, which is not certainly not.
You get to.
Yeah.
Hey, just for what it's worth, I got to do my undergrad over 8 years, so I really got to stick around.
Aren't you lucky?
Yes, exactly.
But so we had a really nice opportunity to basically everyone did 3 co-ops. I did 3 co-ops, and in fact, by the time I graduated, all 3 of them ended up in a job offer in some way. So I thought that. I think since then, I've always felt really strongly that having an opportunity in undergraduate education to collaborate with employers and like with people who, hey, you're going to graduate, you really need to understand the difference between academics doing school projects and of course, if you want to go into industry, what it's going to be like. So that's why I really feel strongly about my experiences working with companies as an undergrad, and then trying to do the same in reverse here.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that. I work at JupiterOne as well, so I kind of know the story. But can you give us like how'd the connection occur between JupiterOne and North Carolina State, between you and Margaret and the teams? And there's a people element, I think, of this as well, right? You have to, if you go in there and you don't connect at the human level, it's just not going to work. So tell me a little bit about how we kicked off the project with NC State, Nick, and Margaret. Talk a little bit about how the students felt when they first got the chance to meet Nick.
Yeah, well, so, the genesis here is, of course, like Margaret said, I think NC State has a fabulous engineering program. And as a engineering company, we value this like critically. And on top of that, actually, a lot of our engineering talent, including Erkong himself, came through NC State. So I think Erkong has a BS and MS from NC State.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Erkong's the CEO of JupiterOne.
Yeah, so.
So he made a connection. Erkong made a connection with our director of external relations, Mr. Ken Tate, and then, of course, we have an e-partnership program with NC State that really originated out of the Senior Design Center years and years and years ago, because we had to get sponsors. And so finally we hired a director of external relations, and then that position just really grew. And so sponsors can come to computer science and participate at different levels of partnership, and depending on how much they'd like to donate and how much they'd like to be a partner, what the kinds of things they'd like to do. So at the super e-partnership level, for example, the partners get 2 senior design projects per academic year, for example, in addition to lots of other activities that they can host and participate in, and get to know the students and recruit. So that's how we got started. Ken brought them to me, and we just started talking about projects. And every semester, I'm gathering projects from new sponsors and old sponsors and potential sponsors, right? So I'm working.
Can you give us a taste of like what other kind of companies and projects that
I'd love
come
to.
through your way?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a long list of sponsors. We've worked with hundreds and hundreds of sponsors, but some of the folks that your audience will know: Cisco, IBM, Blue Cross Blue Shield, LabCorp, LexisNexis, Merck, NetApp, SAS, Cengage, Microsoft, Truist, smaller companies in the area, for example, those on Centennial Campus, Bandwidth. We've worked with startup companies, Sunder Networks. Catabasis is a nonprofit that we're working with right now, whose mission is to bring computer science to rural North Carolina, children in rural North Carolina, young people, and bring them into the fold. And so they have camps for them to teach them about hardware, and they have a lot of gaming projects that they're getting involved with to introduce students to computer science concepts. Really, really exciting projects all over the board, right? From cybersecurity to gaming, to projects that have machine learning and natural language processing components, data mining, gamification of things that you wouldn't think could be gamified, things like that. So we have a really, really rich group of sponsors that we're really, really proud to be partnering with.
Nice.
And yeah, Tyler asked how the students were in terms of if they were excited.
Yeah.
Nick, yeah. So one of the things that we make our students do, and they really don't like me for this, I don't think. I really don't. But I have this just incredibly exciting lecture on how to have a meeting. And they're like, and these kids, they're really brilliant, right? And they're like, you've got to be kidding. This woman is going to say, I got to have a meeting. And so I make them put together an agenda. And I have to review the agenda beforehand. So this is for the kickoff meeting. Mm-hmm. And they have to have questions. And it's really quite a process. Mm-hmm. And so I prepare them. And so the students I think because of that preparation, they're actually like, oh, wow, this is like serious, right? Like this is, but they're really excited.
Foray into adulting.
Yes. But they're really, really excited. And they prepare. They have to meet their sponsor down in the atrium and escort them to the conference room. It becomes very formal, and I want them to have that experience.
Yeah.
I want them to be on edge, just a little.
Yeah. So were they excited? Were they excited to meet Nick? I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, he's a pretty exciting guy.
Well, of course he is. I mean, look. A graduate from Boston. I mean, please, he's an exciting, and actually it's fabulous. When Nick came in, it was just great. And the students just love meeting their sponsors for the first time. They're always so jazzed.
Yeah, I bet they do. Like I said, I did that internship at that virtual reality company. I ended up working there well beyond the internship, which is why it took me 8 years to get my undergrad, because I started working in industry after my second year because there was so much money to be made. This was right around the .com era. So,
sure.
But Ashley, do you want to take the next question? I've been jumping on here.
It's all good. Nick, I'm actually curious to know, what was the business problem that we brought to these students in that meeting, and how was it received? I guess would be the follow-up too.
Yeah, both fun questions. So the problem that we wanted to bring, of course, being on the integrations team, what we're doing is we're data producers, right? We're writing integrations. We're getting data from AWS or Azure, GCP, wherever. And we happen to be putting it into JupiterOne, the product. But in fact, these open source integrations, they have an interface. You could put this data anywhere. And for a long time, I think JupiterOne, also being really interested in open source, has been interested in what if we could actually connect this with Neo4j, which for those of you who don't know, it's I would say it's one of the most well-known open source graph databases. It's an implementation. A lot of people use it. And so, we kind of said, what if we just took all of our producers, these integrations, and built an interface that we could put this into Neo4j itself. People could, security researchers, engineers on different security teams at, whatever companies could actually just run a Neo4j database on their machine, on a server somewhere, and leverage all of the code, all of the, the existing knowledge that we've put into these open source integrations, and just dropped them directly into Neo4j. So that was the concept that we brought to the students. And it's funny, Margaret, when you're talking about the agenda of this first meeting, how formal it is. I went to this first one with Erkong, as we mentioned, and I think both of us really get excited about engineering, and we can go off, we can start whiteboarding, and in fact we did. And I'm laughing because I think the agenda, actually, if you recall, Margaret, the agenda probably went out the window a little bit. we're whiteboarding, and we had to kind of focus back in on the task at hand. But
we had to rein you in, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, I don't like doing that to sponsors when they're so enthusiastic, right? So the agenda, the preparation of the agenda may even be more important than the agenda itself, right? Because the students are actually communicating, they're actually coming up with really good questions, they're prepared, right?
It's a lot like, Margaret, it's a lot like our show notes for this show, because we prepare them and then we don't use any of them.
There you go. That's okay.
Exactly. So I think the primary point there is to say, you outline what you want, you understand the general direction, and then you do what needs to be done in that meeting. And that sounds like what you got, right?
Yeah. So I think, I hope we didn't intimidate those students too much the very first time, but of course it ended up being a great collaboration, and spoiler alert, we ended up, we had a team of 4 students last semester. For all of them were excellent, and in the end we ended up hiring one of them as a new engineer on our team. So the collaboration was awesome.
Yay, Emily.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was good, but
curious question that is not in the show notes, as we do here on the show. What is the rest of the engagement like over the course of the semester? So semester is what, like 15, 16 weeks, right? You have the initial meeting. Is it like weekly check-ins, daily
meetings? The students are expected to have weekly meetings with their sponsors, and we set up, they can do it virtually, or they can go down to the office and meet with their sponsors if they'd like to. On site, we allow them to do that. Sponsors come to campus. We do that as well. And then sponsors are invited to presentations too, so they can come and listen to the students present. I think that you had the team down there. They had even done some demos down at JupiterOne, didn't they, Nick?
The students came down, I think 3 or 4 times over the semester.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, and then there was times when they actually showed stuff off, right?
Yes, I think in one of our company roundtables, we got to see, or sprint demos, I can't remember which meeting, but we got to see the demo from them, which I thought was super cool that they got to present to the whole company. So,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And not all sponsors do that, but we really appreciate when sponsors do that opportunity, right? So, but the weekly meetings are really pretty consistent with all sponsors. Okay. And of course, the invitations to presentations. And then we had to have an end of semester exposition called Posters and Pies, which is the students give short presentations, 2.5-minute presentations. We had 21 of them last semester. Yeah, they did great. And then they have trade show style demos and posters after. And we serve food. Pies, pizza pies, and dessert pies. It's fun.
I love it.
Sorts of pies. I love it.
The sponsors love it. So
Awesome. So curious question for Nick. Did we think, well, actually, this is more of a question because I don't know the answer. Have we done internships prior for our engineering team? Was there a preference aside from, ERCOT making the connection, like a debate between you doing an internship versus a partnership with NC State for this particular project?
Yeah.
Talk to me through that.
We have, the engineering team has hired a number of interns actually over the time of JupiterOne, which is crazy because we're still so young. But my understanding, Margaret, when ERCOT originally made the connection, was that I think there were a couple of different options. Like you could maybe sponsor graduate research, for example. Sure. You could do senior design. Certainly, like, given those options, I think one of the things that I was most interested in personally is, I think when you get multiple engineers together, like, a lot more ideation happens, a lot more trial and error happens. And I know this says I was a graduate researcher at one time, and you kind of look back and like, wow, if I had someone to throw some ideas off of, that wouldn't have been so bad of a project in the end.
Well, that's the whole reason for teaming, right?
Yeah.
Teaming provides that leverage.
Yeah.
I do an exercise with the students in the beginning of the semester that demonstrates that, and they love it. Like, they have to solve a puzzle, and they solve puzzles individually for 5 minutes, and then they solve the puzzle as a team, and it launches into this incredible discussion about teaming, because they're always more productive with the exercise after teaming. So yeah, absolutely. So I'm sorry I interrupted you, but yeah, so you decided to go with the senior design experience instead of the graduate work or the internship right now.
Yeah. And actually, that sounds like an interesting activity. Maybe we should try it.
I'll come in and do it for you.
Yeah. We'll take you up on that.
Yeah, it's funny. After like, I get compliments. We were talking about the agendas. I had, like, some sponsors they just love it. Oh, we love these agendas every week. We really need to be doing this every week. We need to be doing it internally because it really makes a difference.
Yeah, we definitely need to do it internally on my marketing team for sure.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Right? It gets you organized. And then and the other thing they love is the presentations. The sponsors love the presentations.
Do the students, again, it's always intriguing to me when I think back to when I was in undergrad, and gosh, I didn't know anything from anything back then, right? I was super young, and I think how nervous would I have been to have to give a presentation to a company of a couple hundred people. Do they get nervous? Do you ever have to, like, talk them off the ledge, say, hey, it's going to be okay?
Oh gosh, literally. I was in a stairwell one time down at the Talley Student Center. We were having it down there in the theater. I had a student who was so nervous, and I was working with him, and I said, Scott, I've done this with you, hundreds of times. I said, if you don't get out there, I'm going to have to do it. I can do it. So I stood in the stairwell and I gave his presentation to him, and lo and behold, he got up and he did it. So absolutely, there's a fear, but public speaking is the number one phobia in the world, before death. So whenever I tell that to the students, they feel better, right? Because
they're not so abnormal.
I just gave my presentation lecture on Friday. And one of the things that I tell the students, because most of them really aren't comfortable, most people aren't, not just engineers. I mean, just most people in the world aren't comfortable doing it. I said, you know what? In all of my years of teaching, I have never, and I mean, hundreds of students giving presentations, I have never seen their classmates be mean to them, like to each other about the presentations. You know why? Because they're so glad it's them and not themselves, right? It's like another person who's doing the presentation, then they're not doing it.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful.
I remember the first time I did a true, like, large scale public speaking. I was thrown into a speaking event at a conference. It was called Hope 2002 in New York City. It was a huge cybersecurity conference.
Oh, wow.
There were probably like 4,000 or 5,000 people in the room.
Wow.
And I walked up on stage. I remember it distinctly. I had written every single word of the speech, 45-minute speech, written every single word out on a piece of paper, typed it all out. I got up on stage, read it. I literally read for 45 minutes a dissertation about my topic. And I don't remember any of it. I got off the stage, had completely blacked out for the whole 45 minutes. Can't remember any of it. I got off the stage and I walked past one of my friends and he's like, "Good job." And I turned to him and I let out an expletive because I knew it was horrible. I'm like, "You're lying to me." And that was my first public speaking experience. But that being said, and to your point, you get experience, you get better, you desensitize to the risk, and at the end of the day, I mean, I think I did 1 year where I had over 70 or 80 public speaking experiences in 1 year. So,
Amazing.
Amazing.
And so your
friend was just happy.
He was trying to be there for me. Yeah, he was trying to be there for me. And I lit him up because I was just so mentally deranged at that moment. But
you never had to do any presentations in school?
That's a very different thing when you're presenting to a class of 20 or 30 people and you're presenting to an auditorium of a couple thousand.
But
the anxiety feels all the same to me.
No.
In my opinion. But that could just be the fact that I've not actually stood in front of a group that big. So,
well, I liken it to when I do my presentation lecture, I do a music analogy because I'm a musician, and I know, yeah. I mean, so for me, it's really like a performance, and so one really needs to practice. And to be honest with you, I would prefer to sing in front of thousands of people versus 5 professional musicians, right? So, and I think that the expertise in the audience is what perhaps makes people nervous, right? So for me, I'd rather the larger numbers actually are less intimidating to me.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on the public speaking topic, because we have gone down a rabbit hole here, but the last thing I'll say on it is there was a certain level of convincing myself that I know my topic better than anybody in the room because I did the research and I came up with the concept and I built it. That finally got me over the hump to saying, hey, people are going to have questions and they might call something out I missed, but that's okay. That's allowed, right?
Exactly. I say that to the students too. You're going to know more about this project than anybody in the room.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. Thank you,
Tyler. So go ahead, Ash. You got another one.
It's all good. I was just going to ask Nick. So what's next for this project, right? So the semester has ended. They presented to our company, right? We may have. What's the future for it here?
Yeah. So particularly right about this vision connecting JupiterOne into a Neo4j database. We actually ended up releasing a couple weeks after the semester ended an open source project. You can check it out at JupiterOne's GitHub. It's called Starbase, and it does exactly the vision that we were setting out to do.
So from a marketing standpoint, technically we haven't released it yet. We've released the code, but we haven't done the press release that says it's out there. So technically, redacted. All of the audience, you're getting a bit of a sneak peek here on what we plan to do with the open source code here at JupiterOne and some of the future-looking projects we have coming down the pipe that will be centered around Starbase and the open source projects. So it's out there. What can users do with it, Nick?
Yeah. So what they can do is. It has a README, it has a setup documentation, how you run this, and take any of our open source integrations and run them in Starbase. And in fact, if you want to, you can go ahead and change the open source integrations and update the code, have it run with your tweaks, contribute back, hopefully, to Starbase and to our open source integrations. So that's where we're at now. Sorry about
No, don't be sorry. I knew it was coming. I wouldn't have had you on the show if I didn't want to sneak peek it to the audience. This audience is important to us. We're sneak peeking it to them. That being said, another place we can go is askj1.com, which is the main landing page for our community. If you click on the community tile that is at askj1.com, you can get into the community. Then within there's an open source section. Nick checks it regularly amongst other people, and if he doesn't, he will be, because I just said he has to.
The look on your face.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, yeah, I check that every day.
Right after this.
Exactly. And then we also have a public community Slack that you can get into, discuss the open source projects. Do we have an open source channel on that Slack, Nick?
We have an integrations channel, which is I think a lot of our engineering team is in and is happy to talk through things.
Awesome. We're going to be adding a Starbase channel as well.
Yeah, that'll be great. And you know, I want to say one more thing about Starbase, which is that obviously NC State has seniors coming through every semester, and as Margaret was saying, there's a record number of seniors coming through, and we have another project that we're sponsoring this year, and it's actually going to be a sort of a follow-on. So stay tuned for that. I don't want to give too many details away, but we just had the project kickoff, and we have 5 great students that are going to be working on that. So stay tuned.
That's exciting. So you're basically giving these students kind of their intro to the open source world too, which you pretty much live and breathe every day of your job. How did you get your start in open source?
I mean, really, mostly it was JupiterOne, actually. So, you know, when we ask, like, why do you build open source? Why do you use open source? I think in JupiterOne's case, in our integrations, one of the really interesting things is that we're a security company, right? So the foundation that JupiterOne is based off of is just how we're ingesting data from your target AWS, Azure, GCP accounts. And to some extent, the auditability of that is like critical. So a security researcher needs to know, hey, this code is, you know, I can review this code. I can make sure they're hitting the right APIs. They're, you know, I can check it for bugs. I can, you know, and add additional context, right? If I need more things, I can contribute. So that's, I think, where my intro and then passion for open source kind of started, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Awesome. So what you're saying is, everybody can go check out the open source, including our customers today, and contribute and have that ongoing community contributions that way. So that's cool. Do you feel that there's just an obligation at a code level, or are there other ways that folks can contribute to the open source community? Open question also to anybody here who wants to chime in on open source. So
yeah, well, I'll take it first, and then I'll put Tyler in the spotlight. What is he think about this question? Well, you know, it is writing code, but I think, you know, again, going to the auditability of this stuff, a lot of it, you don't really need to know how to write code to do things like open an issue, ask for feature requests, things like that. So our integrations, they have accessible GitHub issues are turned on. And so that's another really great way to get involved. And again, you know, pulling down Starbase, just running the project, understanding how to run it, even if you're not contributing. These are all really good, really great ways to contribute.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Tyler,
I definitely agree. I mean, I think open source in the general sense it's community. And community doesn't mean you got to bang out lines of code every single day. Community is usage. Community is communication. Community is, you know, all sorts of bringing value to others. That's generally what community is and should be, right? And to that end, you know, I think JupiterOne, with this partnership with North Carolina State University and the Senior Design Center, our goal is community, right? We believe in the community in our local schools and education area. We believe in the open source community with this project. We believe in, you know, giving back and having security be a basic right for every company. Even if you can't afford to purchase a product, you now can take Starbase and build your own DIY solution if that's how you want to approach the problem. And I think all of that, to me, is the fundamentals of what open source really means, and in general, what community is as well.
Totally agree.
Look at that. I'm a marketing guy.
Fantastic. That was great. I mean, and certainly what we're doing with our industrial partners and our department is all about community.
Yeah.
And it's about creating this community of young professionals who are exposed to all of these exciting new technologies and approaches to solving problems. And so if we build that community with each other, then it works. It helps everything, right? It helps develop our curriculum to become more robust, and it helps you because you're helping to form the computer science citizens who are coming to you. So it's all about community. It's fantastic. I love that word.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's just such a key word for kind of a philosophy of good citizenship, but also for this project. This project is 100% a community centric, collaboration.
That's great.
Awesome. You got any other questions, Tyler, that you want to dig into? Or?
Oh, I got a million questions, but we're going to bump up against time if I keep going. So maybe we got to get to the spot where, I embarrass myself or do something silly to make this a truly entertaining show.
By the way, if anybody is interested in sponsoring a project,
yes,
you can
please.
just go Google Senior Design Center, and we are the first hit always.
Oh,
awesome.
Senior Design Center at CSC or Senior Design Center at NC State, or you can go to sdc.csc.ncsu.edu. And we go to 4 sponsors, and we have call for projects. You can also email me at Heil, Heil at ncsu.edu. I'm the only Heil at NC State. So absolutely, I'd be happy to start discussions with you.
Yeah, before we get to the game, actually, I do want to put a plug in there for askj1.com, but I also want to put a plug in there that if anybody does have any questions about Starbase, how to install it, how to run it, what it means, how to use it, Nick can take those. Our Slack channel is open. Nick.Dowmon at JupiterOne.com, Tyler.Shields at JupiterOne.com. Either of those, we can get you to the right people. Join the Slack. And then the last plug I want to put in is the ever famous, the ever infamous, smash that subscribe, smash that like, check the bell, get notified
about that in the beginning.
Every time that cybertherapy.tv comes live, right? We're every Tuesday at 5. So that will be our last plug until our game. What's our game, Ash? Let's have fun.
Okay, so I'm resurrecting a word association game because the last time I tried this, it was a complete bust. So we're gonna do it a different format this time. So each of you, I'll run through basically a list of words. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say the word, and then you're gonna say the first word that comes to mind related to that word. And it's just quick fire. Don't think. Just the first word that comes to your mind.
We need an order because there's 4 of us.
Yeah, no, do you want to?
So, Tyler, I'm going to start with you so you can be the guinea pig and our guests can learn from your experience.
Yeah.
Still nervous about this, but okay.
No,
right.
relax.
No reason to be nervous. Just first word that comes to your mind. Okay? All right.
Dog.
No, I got to start first.
I thought you said first words that comes to my mind. There you go. That was it.
So related to the word. So I'm going to start. Food.
Eat.
Instrument.
Play.
Pets.
Cat.
Metaverse.
Facebook.
Beverage.
Bourbon.
Yay.
Stocks.
Winning.
Tom Brady.
Awful.
Plants.
What was that one?
Plants.
Grow.
Sour candy.
Yum.
Christmas.
Ick.
So, audience members, you're welcome to psychoanalyze him. Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no. Christmas ick.
Yeah, Christmas ick. Christmas and Tom Brady are at the bottom of my love list. Not a fan of either one.
Christmas is on the top of my
list. So I want to do one word, just one word for you, Nick. Tom Brady.
You know what? Okay.
No, you got to just blurt out a word. Come on, Nick.
Don't process it, Nick.
Goat.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You. Everybody says that.
I'm not a Tom Brady fan. I'm not a Patriots fan, although I lived in Boston for 10 years.
Okay.
But I mean, the guy won.
The guy. That's why I can't
career.
stand him. He literally wins everything. Life, money, women. He wins everything. I'm just jealous of Tom Brady. 100%.
All right. Margaret, you want to go next?
Sure.
Okay. Animal.
Dog.
Color.
Blue.
Winter.
Snow.
Books.
Love.
Drink.
Buffalo Trace.
Chore.
Vacuuming.
Music.
Singing.
Messy.
Ick.
Hobby.
Cooking.
Vacation.
Europe.
Where in Europe?
Portugal.
Oh, very nice. That's it. That's 10.
That's it.
Yeah.
See, that was so
Got
much
bourbon lovers.
nicer. The thing I learned about you is that you clearly are a much nicer person than me. Like, I'm like, Tom Brady. You're like, no, you're just very nice, very kind person. I like that.
Well, she didn't say Tom Brady to me.
Oh, well, we got to do it, Margaret. Tom Brady.
Old.
He was at that point in his career.
So,
All righty, Nick.
Okay.
Your turn.
all right, Nick, go. Go, Nick, go.
Color.
Green.
TV show.
That 70s show.
Book.
An Elegant Puzzle, which I'm reading right now.
Oh. Drink.
This is weird. Half juice. Do you know half juice?
We're going to
What
dig
is
in
it?
after. Keep going, but
Okay.
I'm going to get into that.
Vegetable.
Carrot.
Oh man, you didn't say
I
what I was
know.
hoping you'd
I knew
say.
you were. I knew. You were
Travel.
Virgin Islands.
Chore.
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 Sweeping.
Food.
Tapas.
Ooh. Podcast.
Cybertherapy.
Yeah. And last one. Mayonnaise.
Aioli.
Ooh,
wow,
best
okay.
answer for
Very
mayonnaise.
cool.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
so
What half juice? Half juice. What's a
Yeah.
half juice? How is it different than a full juice?
Well, sometimes the full juice is too sweet, so you pour water in.
You
And then it's
water
half
down
juice,
your
half water.
juice? You really water down your juice?
Yes.
Wow.
It's
We're
only
just
the
gonna
whole
let
world
that-
that's learning this interesting fact about me.
We're going to let that float out there in the ether. I'm just not even going to dig into that, Nick. So many ways I could throw jabs at that, but I'm going to be a nice guy, I think.
Virgin Islands, have you been or is that on your bucket list?
No, it's just in my mind right now. I would like to go.
That's where you go, vacation in your brain.
I had my
That's
what
honeymoon
you
in the
picture.
British. I had my honeymoon in the British Virgin Islands.
Oh, did
Oh,
you?
wonderful.
Yeah, at an island called Peter Island, which at the time, I don't know if they're even around anymore. At full capacity, the entire island had no more than 100 people, including workers, on the whole island, and one TV on the whole island.
Whoa.
It's pretty
Wow.
cool. So if you ever get a chance to look up Peter Island, it's well worth going to for a vacation.
Peter
Okay.
Island. That's cool.
Absolutely. All
I'm
right,
sure
Ash.
we're all dreaming of vacations at this point.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
And Margaret, you and I are going to have to do some bourbon sipping. I got Buffalo Trace, I got Blanton's, I got Weller's right up in that cabinet right there. We'll share some someday.
Wow. Where'd you get your Buffalo Trace? It's hard to get.
I got a guy. I got a guy.
You got
as
a
they say.
guy.
I got a guy.
I want to know.
All right.
All right, Ash, are we done here?
I think so. That's it. I think
Margaret, Nick,
Thank you.
thank you both so much for
Yes.
coming on the show. I had a blast hearing the story. I'm so looking forward to the open source work coming out of JupiterOne, Nick. Margaret, I am ecstatic to be working alongside the NC State students. I loved meeting them all when I had the chance. It's just a great group of kids and a great group of people over there. Please keep in touch and let us know how we can support that program.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. This
Absolutely.
is fun.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you,
All right,
Ashley.
guys.
all
Ash,
righty. Moving
get
you
them hell off my
backstage.
show. Get them off my show.
All right.
That's a wrap.
Well, yes, that is a wrap. Next show is going to be on February 15th. So we are the first and third Tuesdays of every month.
Or
Just to let you know.
you can just hit that subscribe and notify
This is true.
button and your phone will
100% true.
beep every time we're going live. You'll be able to come on and check us out. If you would like to hear certain topics, if you'd like to have guests, please email tyler.shields@jupiterone.com or ashley.lee@jupiterone.com. We're open to guest ideas, concepts, game ideas. I would love to have some cool new games on here for us to play. Because quite frankly, we like talking to you guys. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.